Fernando,
Yes, sir.
you know what today is?
Today is Monday.
Right? Who didn't know that? And that means one thing. Car Stereo Talk Live, the Monday edition. And today we have a guest. You know who the guest is?
No.
It's on the screen, dude.
Oh,
Today we have a guest, Ernie Hartman, who has not been on the show in years.
no kidding. Yeah.
It's been a while.
Welcome back to the show, Ernie. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Fresh off vacation.
Indeed.
How
Yeah?
was it?
It was
Good.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
enjoy.
went to the Keys with the family. Did some snorkeling, a bunch of drinking. Went to South Beach. You know,
Nice.
family
Nice.
stuff.
His boys. You go to South Beach.
Yeah.
Anyways, welcome back to the show, guys. Today we have Ernie on because, for one, we've seen these briefly, but we have these to talk about, which are two new Amp Pros. Plus, in general, we just want to talk about Amp Pros, kind of reacquaint some of you with Amp Pros, because we know there are people out there that don't understand what they are, why you need one, why you might need one, why you don't need one, and all the other fun things to go along with it, and how they work, and really get to the nuts and bolts of this from somebody that has to tell people, or has people that tell you have people, right?
Oh, I still tell people.
Exactly. So we're going to learn a bunch of that on the show today. I'm super excited about this topic. I know you guys are too. If you have any questions about Amp Pros or anything pertaining to them or any form of integration, high level, low level, PAC Audio is Stinger. Stinger is Audio Control. It's PAC. It's Echo Master. It's all those brands, formerly of Amp Global. So it's all of that. And he knows a lot of stuff. So today we have the benefit of talking to him. Years ago, we had him on the show, and he gave us this huge dossier of all of the MECP and all of the AAI.
Yeah.
What is it?
ASE.
Yeah, certifications, all those other fun things. So we're not going to go over those today. But before we dive deep into this, as always, we do this little thing called the 12-Volt Clean Wire Club over there on Facebook. And Fernando scours it every week trying to find something that's cool. It is brought to you by us, Fernando and I, DNF Tool Drawer. It's a place to go to find all the cool tools that we use. But we have this guy this week. What do we have? Who do we have, Fernando?
Mr. Turner. 2JL amplifiers.
No, those are Memphis.
Those are Memphis?
Those are Memphis.
Memphis. There he goes. Yeah, 2 Memphis amplifiers.
I know what you're looking at.
I know, right?
That's a factory amp.
That's a Sony factory amp.
And it looks like an F-150.
Out of Ford.
Yeah, so he didn't use an Amp Pro. How fitting. So today, so wiring looks clean. I really like the job that he did there. It's fantastic. But yes, he didn't use an Amp Pro. We're literally, all of us were doing this as we're looking at it. He's up out of the seat. He's going, wait a minute,
Right, exactly.
That's a Sony amp on there. Because if you use an Amp Pro, well, you know what? He might have had an Amp Pro because with the Sony amp, you had to keep the amp.
You do have to leave it in there.
Bet you there is an Amp Pro mounted to the back side of it because on the old Sonys, you had to keep it. On the new BO systems, they go into the trash can. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. Systems that need them, systems that don't need them, and all those other fun things that go along with that. So that'll be fun. Before we dig into that, though, we still got to pay for the show, even though we have our good friend Ernie on. We still got to pay for the show. So this first segment, oddly enough, is going to be brought to us by, let me move this over here, Audio Control in the new Epic line of products, along with the amplifiers that we've had so much fun with here talking about. We've done a bunch of videos on. We just learned when we had Matthew and
Gary Bell.
Yeah, I'm getting there. On the show about the new line of speakers, we got to touch them, feel them, take a look at them. These are the new Epic subwoofers that, even though they're the new, I hate to use the term entry level, first stage, affordable, whatever you want to call them, the amount of tech that Gary put into these woofers and the whole team, as far as the bump back magnetic suspension and the travel and the spiders and lots of spiders, itsy bitsy kind of up the water spout. So if you want to learn more, see what they might have that can tickle your fancy, head over to audiocontrol.com, of course. Where do we get started? Where do we start? Do you want to start with the history of Amp Pro?
Sure, I've been there for the whole bit.
I know, right? except for that one night in the parking lot. But anyways, that started Nathan on this quest to build an amp pro.
Is that so? That's it. You know more about that history than me. But amp pros were born out of the need from, was it like the mid to late 2010s Chryslers and Fords.
Which is, okay, not to interrupt, which is ironic because we actually started the conversation because of GM.
Really?
Yeah, so what had happened is we were meeting, and that was back right before the Elevate was coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and he had all the prototypes that he had in his ugly Prius,
Mm-hmm.
and I just worked on a Hummer. And I said, why can't we get an interface that goes the other way?
Mm.
So we can keep the factory radio.
So Hummer, that must have been a 29-bit.
It was 32-bit. It was an old school, simple.
You mean a Class 2?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Those.
Yeah.
Well, see, those are all analog.
No, but that's what started the conversation.
Right.
And of course, you know, you've talked to Nathan enough to where you know how that conversation generally winds.
Oh, yeah.
And so then everyone figured out, because at the time you also had the early Chrysler amp interface piece.
The C2A CHY.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so anyways, that aside,
Yep.
let's go with yours.
So with Chrysler and Ford in the mid to late 2010s, they decided to run so you got your factory radio and your factory amp. They decided to run 2 channels of analog audio from the radio to the amp at 0 dB, right? But they made it to where the volume, bass, treble, balance, fade, all was controlled over CAN data. So in these radios, and even the ones we're talking about today, when you roll the volume knob on that radio, it actually transmits CAN messages to the factory amp to tell it to raise the volume up and down or to adjust the bass, treble, mid, balance, fade. You know, all that. What's up, Chris? And so back in those days, the solution was, this was when the Audison Bit 1 started coming out.
Yeah.
And so people would take the 2 high level or the 2 fixed level audio signals, run them into the bit 1, and then use the knob on the bit 1 as a volume knob. And so, you know, we saw a need in the market, which obviously blossomed from conversation with you and Nate. And, you know, our first ones were the Chrysler, the CH11, CH21, FD21. And then it just kept growing from there and there.
Yeah. So we had the honor of getting to film the first video on the Ford, which you had to go home and get us the harness to plug because you had to get us the load resistor harness so we could retain the chimes in the dash.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of fun. Because I got one.
Yeah.
One.
We found out if we did this, these come back. So I got this one, and we're like, cool, go get it.
So, you know, something else too that I can touch on is the part numbers. They have meanings.
And
Believe it or not.
Let's go with that because people ask all the time what you know
what is an AP4?
Yeah, break it down.
AP4 stands for Amp Pro Level 4. Now, in the beginning conception of these, there were going to be different levels. There was going to be like an AP1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with, you know, the 5 having like full DSP functionality and all of that. But we never did any of that. So the AP4 is the one that everybody knows and loves, right? So you got Amp Pro Level 4, and then so here you have Ford, right? FD.
Yep.
And then this digit is the generation of data bus in the vehicle.
So 3.
So this would be Ford's 3rd generation of data bus, which in this case is A to B. And then that final digit right there, that is the version of this module that works on that data bus. So we have an AP4 FD31,
yes,
right, which was the 3rd generation of the vehicle, first revision of the module. And so then Ford in 2025 decided to change the little A to B plug that goes at the amp. The FD31 has like a USB style connection.
Yeah.
And they changed a few data bits here and there, but it wasn't anything too crazy to where it would constitute being an FD41. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a 3132.
And then as you can see, our friends at General Motors, what number we're on with them?
8. So it went from a
That's
7
fantastic.
to an 8.
Yeah.
So that's telling us that it was enough of a change to
No,
where,
it's a complete change. So 7 is Ethernet,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and 8 is GM decided to go with A to B, like Ford. Which, since we
Harley.
already had A to B hardware, We were already doing stuff at General Motors anyway. We decided to crank out another amp pro.
I mean, thank God.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, the
Yeah.
71 took forever.
we was waiting a while for that one.
Yeah.
6 years. But it's here and we're on a roll now. So,
whoa.
You
My
did.
bad. I hit the wrong
Don't touch
button.
it.
You have a quick question we could just kind of ask before we jump into the next topic?
Just this one. That was the first one.
What OEM integration interface module options for the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid? Okay, yeah, Bose. Is there ANC? Is a key lock the best option? Both, all of it, really. ANC, yes. Key lock is a solution, but you might be better off just going with you're going to need multiple key locks because that's going to have multiple channels. So I probably would just do a better DSP that has de-equalization built into it, and you just do it manually. Be way faster, way easier, way
From
more
the
cost
software,
effective.
yeah.
Yeah, because typically in a Honda, you need center, sub, front tweeter, front mids. So there's 6 channels. The rears are going to be also an effect channel, but it's 4 more channels. So you need something that has 10 channels of DSP if you're wanting to go full. But you can reuse the front to the back and do it that way, which is typically how we would do it. Any word on Honda? Okay, that's an easy enough answer there. Moving on. All right, so we come up with this idea. We get the first ones, Ford and Chrysler, and
so first it was Chrysler and Ford at the same time, and then we started doing General Motors. So the first General Motors we did was the GM61, which was the most audio.
It was the
network.
most, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let's all right. So you keep saying all these cool words like most and A to B and CAN, LAN, analog.
Mm-hmm.
So can we kind of go through the history and break down some of that so we can kind of understand? So we already said most of these systems had an analog, a fixed 0-bit, perfectly clean 20 to 20 left and right output that were controlled via data.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the different data buses that you guys see and what makes this take so long, so to speak.
Well, so the problem so you got to understand the analog systems were the easiest because all we had to do was just read cant messages for simple things, volume, bass, treble, balance, fade, right?
Okay.
And the audio part of all of those was analog. So there's no decoding that needs to be done there. We just take the analog audio in and spit it back out on 6 channels and just read the CAN bus messages. Then when you start getting into the other ones like most,
what does most stand for?
Media Oriented Systems Transport. It was first seen in Mercedes back in the late 2000s. They had most fiber optic networks.
Oh, nice.
So you're talking about like the older Mercedes that had like the 2-prong plug that had the orange fiber optic cables.
Yeah.
And it looped between like the radio, the CD changer, the satellite tuner, and any other thing audio, on the bus. So GM decided to put most in their vehicles in the 2014 year when they redid the Silverados and made them most. So when it comes to networks like that, I mean, you got to decode it first of all and find the audio and figure out how to, make it back into analog, right?
Right.
So it's what we call a DAC, a digital analog converter. And then also it's figuring out how to play nice on that bus. So most at the time was the most difficult, no pun intended, but we were still able to figure out how to insert an amp pro on the data bus and still be able to leave the factory amp in place. So we were becoming like a secondary node on the most network. Now, keep in mind, when I'm saying most network, that's strictly audio. There's still CAN commands coming from the radio that do volume, bass, treble, balance, and fade. So then when they switched, when I say they, I mean GM again. So then they switched to the Ethernet, which is even more complicated because now you're like trying to decompose a full-blown Ethernet signal that's carrying all types of messages on it, right?
Okay.
To get the audio out of. And again, we run that through a DAC and give you your 6 channels of output. But so like you were saying earlier, some of them require the amp to stay in and others require the amp to come out. So it's very simple. If it's an analog Amp Pro, amp has to stay in. And the reason for that is because when you remove that amp from the vehicle, the radio stops transmitting the CAN data that's needed for us to act right.
Okay. So when you say analog, that's the non-controlled left and right.
Yes.
20 to 20.
So we're talking
signals.
CH21, CH31, CH41, FD21, Toyotas, all of the Toyotas, TY11, 12, 13, 14, Toyotas still running analog signals. So all of those require the amp be left in there. Now, when you start getting into these guys with the Ethernet and the A to B, it is actually quite difficult for us to become another amplifier on that network.
Okay.
Because the factory doesn't even do that. So it's not like we can go jump into an Expedition that has 2 amps and figure it out real quick. And we have to start from scratch on all this. Cause the audio manufacturers don't help at all. And you can't exactly dump a database of their A to B or Ethernet IDs. Right. So we have to start from scratch and dig in and get development tools that work on those networks and go from there.
Now, if I recall, when you guys when MOST became a thing, there's a certain you need MOST tools. You need MOST certification.
And you have to be a part of the MOST consortium. Yes, it's quite expensive.
Yeah,
it's quite expensive.
Yeah.
So, that was required to get the MOST tools, but Ethernet and AVB aren't as closely watched as MOST.
So AVB was the second nightmare that that Chevy came out with, correct? After
well, it's Ethernet and AVBs. I meant to say A to B, but okay. Ethernet is also AVB.
Okay.
So it's audio video bus because on the General Motors, both in the MOST and the Ethernet AVB, they also carry video on those too. So
really?
If you have I haven't seen a rear seat entertainment system since an iPad came out, but if you actually have like a 2014 and up Yukon that has rear seat entertainment, all that's on the same network.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, okay. Yeah, that's why our GM6A RST doesn't retain rear seat entertainment because we were never able to find one to make the video portion happy. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. So let's talk about validation because a lot of the questions come up where it's like, does it work? Because we've all sat there on the internet and read plenty of comments, and I always laugh because even Brian Mitchell and myself were talking about it on one of the podcasts because I go, there's certain people when they comment, that's the end of the conversation, and anytime it's like if it says anything Stinger related at the top, as soon as you answer the question, it's like lock the comments, guys, because there's nothing else that matters past this. Okay, so if you're reading a tech question and you see Ernie Hartman give an answer, that's it. Just
I have been known to hastily answer comments from time to time, but
but listen, I know they're right most of the time, and if they're not, you go back and change it.
Yeah, or I'd be like, oh, sorry, I messed up. So Alex Ramirez here. Am I able to use the pack AP4 TY14 for a 2025 Corolla hatchback with JBL system? So the answer is, and this goes back to what you were just talking about.
That's where we were getting to.
If you look it up on the pack website and it shows that it's compatible, 100%. If it is not shown as compatible, I can tell you that car technically should work, right? But at pack, we don't list anything that we haven't physically plugged into and tested ourselves. So the second part of that answer is it should work, but I cannot guarantee it.
Now, what if it does work?
If it does work and we get several confirmations, then I will add it to the website.
So, Alex, if you decide to try it, give tech support a call and say, hey, I'm working on this. And there might be some follow-up questions.
So it's probably just better to message me on Facebook.
Yes. Yeah. Message Ernie Hartman on Facebook. He might have some follow-up questions.
Yep.
Because that's usually what they'll say, hey, did you try this? Did you try that? Did you press the SOS button?
Yeah, so the thing is with Amp Pros, when it comes to Amp Pros, if you plug it into a car that we don't list, there's a 95% chance you're going to get audio and the volume's going to work. It's the little things you got to check, like Siri voice, factory nav voice, Bluetooth calling, proximity.
Backup sensors,
proximity sensors. Man, on the GM71, GM went so crazy with all of their sensors and all of the different tones and sounds and volume adjustments that we physically had to put a front parking sensor volume and a rear parking sensor volume in the app because you could never make the two happy. Well, we just had it on one slider, and plus there's a factory chime adjustment in the radio too. So if you set that to where you want it to be, and then you changed our one slider, like the rear chimes, you could barely hear them, and the front chimes were like blowing you out of the car. So then if you dial it back some, then you can't hear the front chimes, and the rear chimes are even quieter. So that's why we had to put two.
Well, yeah, because especially if you're doing a DSP where there might be something weird going on in the rear, level control, something like that, some form of a different. Is that the new 25 Chrysler interface? No, these are not.
So to answer your question, this is for 2025 and up Ford trucks and Bronco, and we're working on the SUV. So Ford, actually, here's another little tidbit. So we don't list the Expeditions and Explorers for these.
Yes, I saw that.
Because Ford changed the order of operation on the A to B bus. So in the FD31, the amp is always the last node on the bus, right? Mm-hmm. And there's another module in these vehicles. I think it's called an APIC module, APIC.
Okay.
I could be misspeaking. I'm sure if Mike's here, he'll tell me what it is. But is he in there?
Oh, I don't know. I
gotcha. So anyway,
he chimes in from time to time.
Yeah, so on the Expeditions and the Explorers, they decided to make the APIC module the last node on the bus. So in order for us to work in there, we have to remove the amp, become the amp, but be the second node on the bus, not the third.
Okay.
And that takes a little bit of time, and I don't know if you guys have ever took apart a 2025 Expedition to get to the amp, but
no,
it is not fun.
Is it in the back still?
It is in the back quarter panel.
Talking about the devil.
Oh, see, I told you, Mike, it's the APIM. There you go. The APIM module.
It uses PIM particles.
Yes. I knew Mike would know what it's called.
All right, where are we at?
So all right. So wait a minute.
Well, no, keep going.
He was asking about the Chrysler.
Yes.
So this is for the new Fords, 2025 and up Fords. This is for the new GMs, 2025 and up GMs. Some 2023. The Colorado, actually, they switched to A to B in 2023.
Really?
Yeah. So that's fantastic. Like so when it comes to the new Chryslers, so we've kind of had that in the shadows for a while, and we've got a bunch of data logs, but we're bringing it back to the top. And my engineering tech is actually going to Chrysler this week with the engineer.
So remind me when we're done to tell you what I found out this weekend that Chrysler is doing now to the new signal.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, no, it's bad. It's bad. So Amp Pro is kind of a must because they're adding a fake noise that starts in the back of the car. It's a high-frequency noise. It sounds like a plane flying overhead. Mm-hmm. So when you disconnect the ANC mics, you hear this noise. It goes, woo, and ends at the center channel. Mm-hmm. And the ANC picks it up and negates it. So you can't hear it. But if you disconnect the ANC, you hear this random, every now and then, flyover noise.
So see, that's another good thing about the Amp Pros is, so this goes between the factory radio and the amp. So all of that nonsense, like what you just said, and all of the equalization and bass roll-off and fake engine sounds and all of that is negated by this module because we are grabbing the signal before the factory amp, which does all of that nonsense.
Yeah. So since we talked about all the nonsense, this next part is brought to you by the fine folks at Focal. If you're looking for amazing speakers to put into your vehicle, head over to focal-america.com. This month, we're highlighting the Focal Flax Evos because they're just amazing. We sell a ton of them, and people love them. And that's how that goes.
I got K2s in my truck.
Yeah.
You and Fernando can hug it out later.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So talking about looking for something, are you guys still looking for tech support?
So not currently. I filled the 2 roles I was looking for. But if you're interested, you can always shoot me a resume. It's ehartman@stingersolutions.com. You just have to, I prefer you be in Florida, but remote workers can be in Minnesota, Texas, California, and Georgia. Those are all the states that we operate in. So.
Oh, yeah, because you have the warehouse in Florida.
Right.
Or in Georgia.
Georgia,
yeah. Okay. So okay, ANC, all those fun things.
Mhm.
There's another aspect of this that is the Sub Pro.
Yeah, the AP sub.
So,
I didn't bring one of those.
no, it's okay. It's okay. So, talk a little bit about what the Sub Pro is.
So the AP subs is pretty much an amp pro that only does subwoofer. So you don't have these outputs on an AP sub. You've just got two outputs that work on. So here's another misconception. Most people think an amp pro has front, rear, and sub. This is technically not a subwoofer output. This is a full range output that is controlled by the sub level control knob.
Correct.
Which most people run it into an amp or DSP, cross it over, all that.
Mhm.
The AP sub only has sub outputs, and they are sub outputs. They are crossed over at 350 hertz and down. And
For obvious reasons.
And they come with a bass control knob. The only thing about the AP subs are they are limited to, they are limited to the vehicles that where you have to leave the amp in the car.
And that is where I was going with this because the most popular vehicle that everyone wants to put a sub in, of course, is a Chevy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Chevy, because of AVB
Yep.
and Ethernet, we have to take the amp out.
Have to remove the amp. Which
So
means you have to amplify everything.
yeah, so there is no Sub Pro for that particular vehicle, which is a bummer, but it's not the end of the world if you still want to do an upgrade because, like you said, that'll also, if it has Bose, it'll get rid of, it'll make everything wonderful so that we can just...
all the GM's phase shifting and notch filters and all that stuff.
GM, yay.
You talk about it with so excitement, like, oh, this is amazing.
I will say props to GM, though, on this generation. All the vehicles are the same. They all use the same plug.
Really?
Which on the 71, if you open up a 71, you get
500.
like 7 different harnesses in there. Yeah, they're just... GM's the king of use whatever they have on the shelf. So I think they used up all the old parts on the GM 71 era, and now they're trying to stick to something.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's plenty
simple.
of times where they'll take that one random harness and they'll just switch one
Oh, yeah.
a set
Or
of
they'll
speakers.
take an old harness and put it in a new car, or take a new harness with an old data system and put it in a used car.
The BHA 2003 and 2
worked
and
on
14 and
worked on class 2 and 11-bit LAN and all
Nissan
that stuff. Nissan, we actually call that the Japanese GM at work because they're all over the place. There's no consistency at all with GM. But yeah, for the GM 81, I will say GM's been using this same speaker harness on their amps for 20 years.
I used to buy those harnesses from the European company,
Car AV.
Car AV,
Yeah.
because they had them for cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have bags of those.
Well, they're definitely useful. But luckily on the GM 81 generation, you get one plug that has A to B and CAN, and that's it. And you don't have to mix and match and figure out which UQH, UQS, or IOK, or all that stuff, and figure out what plug you need.
Now, okay, so you just brought up a neat thing. Ernie, thanks for the great products. Question, why such a drop in output from RCA to TOSLINK?
So... the TOSLINK output on this thing actually mirrors this, okay? As far as the output level, I mean, I didn't engineer this thing, so I don't really have like a full answer to that, or even acknowledge that if it is a thing.
You want me to give you the 10-cent version of the answer to that?
Oh, there you go.
So the answer to that is real simple. They started putting TOSLINK on a lot of things that people wanted it, and they only knew this many people were going to use it because most people don't know what TOSLINK is. Now, their TOSLINK is fine. It does exactly what every TOSLINK should do. However, DSPs, on the other hand, were like, there's no TOSLINKs out there. And then Amp Pros came out and they started having TOSLINKs. So the TOSLINKs in most people's DSPs suck.
So it's the input
It's
on the
the
receiving
input on the
end.
receiver that's bad, not the output on that. Because trust me, we sell amplifiers that we can plug that TOSLINK into as well as other TOSLINKs, and it'll blast you out of the car. So
the guy that made these is quite
DSPs,
knowledgeable and quite thorough. Yeah. So I think he would have caught anything like that. We don't really hear too much. Hi, folks. How the center channel works on the pack module for GMs. So that's a good point to bring up. So again, speaking highly of Mr. Mike, who made these modules, he made it his life's work to create a true center channel coming out of the GM61. The GM61 is the only module that has a center channel output.
Really?
And that was because those Bose amps have a true center channel output.
Really?
So, yes, on a GM61, output 5 is center channel.
Is that selectable through dip switches? Or
it just is.
Oh.
So, output 5 is center channel, and output 6 is subwoofer.
I don't know if I've ever paid attention to that. Of course, I don't know how many 61s we've done. I don't think we've done that many.
Yeah.
And I'm a
We never
one
paid
RCA
attention.
sub guy.
Well,
So
the 61 era vehicles are starting to get into the radio replacement phase.
Yeah,
now, so.
yeah.
you
for
learn
sure.
something new every day.
no, okay, so back to the original, but to expand upon that a little bit more, you guys don't use, there's no active controllable DSP going out of in this box that people can control.
No.
There's always DSP. Everything has a DSP to clean up sound, to move things around, to route signal from where it needs to go. So, but there is no like plug in your laptop, open a phone.
There actually is. There's one small feature on these that
Yes.
you can use through the Amp Pro app. So if you put this into the car and plug it in the computer and fire up the Amp Pro PC application, you can actually pick the frequencies, your center point frequencies on the factory EQ, and the Q factor on it.
Yes.
That is the
So
most
basically a 2 or
DSP
3 band. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most DSP functionality it has. You know?
And there again, no one ever uses that because most people don't know you can plug them into a laptop to do those
you'd be
3
surprised.
things. Oh no, you have to.
We get questions about it all the time.
Yeah. But like, there's no up mixer built into it, other than obviously he did that on that one. But that probably just uses their up mixer.
Yeah, it just passes it through. It just decodes it from most. So that's something else too. Talking about up mixers and digital channels. So again, you notice on this one it has the TOSLINK output, right?
Yes.
So on all of the modules that work in analog audio circuitry, this is an extra add-on.
Okay.
In all of the modules that work in digital audio circuitry, this comes standard on it.
Ah.
So the GM61, 71, 81, FD31, FD32 all come standard with TOSLINK because we're already dealing with a digital signal. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Learned something new today.
There you go.
Yeah, so that's also another way to tell the difference between an analog version and a digital version.
Yeah.
If it has a TOSLINK, it's digital.
Yep.
Is Toyota Most 50 ever coming?
Nah. I mean, it's not really on the menu right now. Our next big one is going to be Chrysler.
So let's talk about Toyota for a little bit, because we were talking about left and right signal, analog signal, and Toyota is actually one of the harder ones to build because they have multiple streams of analog signal that are coming into the amplifier.
Yeah, Toyota likes to have multiple voice channels running into the amplifier.
Expand on that a little bit.
So, I mean, in addition to the 2 channels of audio that feed into the factory amp, they also have channels for like the SOS or for the factory nav. So they have, like, the TY modules take in 4 channels of audio. 2 of them are just the music.
Right.
Whereas the other 2, one is for the factory nav and the other one's for the SOS. Or like when they switched from the TY13 to 14, that was when they added the secondary audio channel. So we had to rework the harness, and
Some of those go
pick it up.
behind the radio and some of them go at the amplifier.
So the original TY13 went at the amp,
Right.
but we changed that
Okay.
because we discovered that the harness was more common than we thought. So
What do you mean more common?
just we weren't sure if all the Toyotas were going to use that, because we made the TY13 pretty early on, right?
Yeah.
All the Toyota amps are pretty standard with it's the TY02, APH TY02 plug, the big dock and lock.
Yeah.
All those are pretty standard, so we felt it was a safe bet to just do it there until all the cars came out and we could see what was going on behind the radio.
Gotcha.
And so then once we discovered they were all using the same plug, we just switched it over to behind the radio. Because, like, in my mind, personally, my biggest thing for this being behind the radio is like, okay, so you got a 2018 Toyota Camry, right? And you put an AP4 TY13 in it, and it's all great. And then 10 years down the road, that radio sucks and is obsolete, and you want to replace the radio, right? So if you pull out the factory radio, you've already got your RCAs, your remote, everything, bang, right there behind the radio.
That's a fair enough argument.
Yep.
I mean, that's a good point.
Yep. But it makes it more difficult with these guys that have to install it to factory amp, right? Because then you're back, which I think you guys actually prefer that.
What's that?
Installing it at the factory amp location.
I like taking the factory amp out. Yeah, because I want the room. That's the other problem is that these cars are getting so roomless, and having to keep. I mean, Ford went from this to this little thing on big brackets to a little tiny thing to like it's got 6 channels and 4 of them are in the radio. And
Ford's a nightmare with that.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that? So
yes, of course.
In the FD31 and FD32 platform, so Ford uses A to B. So A to B is cool because you have downstream and upstream audio channels. So what Ford does is they send all the audio downstream on A to B to the factory amplifier, and then the factory amplifier will play all of the door speakers in a Ford. And so then the amp sends more audio back upstream to what we call the ACM. It's, the little CD player module, but in Ford it's an ACM. And like in the Broncos, it's the dash speakers, the 2 dash speakers in the center channel, or
the rears.
Or in the F-150s, it's like the rear pillar speakers, or the ones that have more than 8 speakers in them.
Yeah, rear pillar, dash, and center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no rhyme or reason. They just do whatever they want.
No, and so, and we've often talked about that. It's like you're just going through pages of find my car. It's like, oh, this is the car. All right, we'll check, verify. Trust but verify.
Yes. Always use a tone generator.
Yeah, because it's quite ridiculous.
That was something we found early on, too, when we started making these harnesses here like that. They're labeled now speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3.
Yeah.
So we tried to label them with what the speakers were based off of the schematics, but man, you'd be surprised at how often factory schematics are wrong themselves.
Well, I mean,
so everybody was calling in complaining, that's not the speaker, that's not the speaker, that's not the speaker. I was like, all right, we're going to change this. We're just going to put speaker 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, tell you to use a tone generator, and even give you a note section in the instruction where you can write down what speakers are what wire.
Well, and like when I called you the other day because we were working on the Grand Cherokee, and it was 2025, so there's nothing for it, and we were like, dude, there's something going on here, and it was like, oh, so the radio actually has 6-channel output instead of 4-channel output, and we didn't even, there's no harness, so it was like, oh crap. And we were talking about the Audi because you were getting ready to you're going to work on one of those, and the Audi has front, rear, center, sub built into the radio. It's like, holy shit.
Does the bass and treble work on the factory radio when you put the pack module on GMCs? Yes, we retain all that.
And that's what he was telling you. You could plug the laptop in and go and adjust your center frequencies for those. So essentially you can custom make your own bass, mid, and treble 3-band EQ that you can play with, and you can do
now
that.
Now this is only on GM, so you can do it on
all of them.
Any amp. You can even, if you're smarter than the average bear, right, and you're running this to a DSP, and you want to prevent anybody from messing with all that, you can turn off the factory EQ, so that way we don't output any of those changes.
That's so mean.
That's something else too, like you asked earlier why some of these are hard to make. Like, we are 100% at the mercy of the car manufacturers, and we have no control over what they do, and we don't find out what they're doing until those cars hit the lot, because we have dealerships around here we work at, like Dimmitt Chevy, Sun Toyota, Ford of Port Richey. They let us use their cars for testing and development, and we don't know what's going on with the thing until we get into one and plug in and, look through schematics and see what's going on. And so then we have to react quickly. And sometimes that's harder than it seems.
Yeah. So, we know how hard it is. Yeah. So Acura is not big on the list of cars to worry about.
No.
Not at the man, huh?
Which, I mean, the competitor feels the same way. So, All right.
Yeah, like I said, the Chrysler is our next target, and then I've heard some rumors swirling about Harley
Oh, really?
because they're now A to B.
Yeah, they are no A to
And
B.
as you
Yeah.
can see, we already have 3 A to B modules. So
Yeah.
but I don't know. I can't confirm or deny. I don't have any timelines. I don't know any more than just chatter around.
I mean, by the
office.
time it gets to you, it's usually
Sometimes.
ooh, sometimes. Hey, this next segment is going to be brought to you by the fine folks at arcaudio.com. If you're looking for a multi-channel DSP, well, look no further. You found the company that's going to do it for you. From the little tiny microscopic goes into your motorcycle PSM Pro 6 to 8, all the way up to the new PSM or PS 6 to 8. There's a bunch of them. We have 6 to 8, we have 8 to
12.
8, we have 8 to 16, 8 to 12.
Yeah.
We have amplifiers. We got them all. So if you're looking for a standalone DSP, look no further. Head over to arcaudio.com.
If you need channels, Arcadio
Yeah,
has.
check out the new bigger affordable, which we talked about, the PS 6 to 8. That thing's pretty awesome, and it comes in at a reasonable price point. So, did the issue with the CH11 dropping CAN data get resolved?
I would love to say yes, but I can't. And I would just say that we have a mountain of these modules at the office that we have been sorting through and picking through and trying to put some kind of rhyme or reason.
What is the problem?
So with the CH11 and some of the other MS CAN modules, after a few key cycles, the CAN chip just locks up and you have to disconnect power and reconnect power in order to bring it back to life.
Okay.
So we put out a tech brief for, hooking the constant wire from the module to ignition, which basically forces it to reset.
Old school.
Forces it to reset every time, and that's a lot easier in Chryslers, but Ford, Volkswagen, Mazda, those cars are, it's not as prevalent as the CH11. I mean, the CH11 outsells all those modules 10 to 1 easily.
Oh, yeah.
But I can promise you we're not ignoring it, and I can promise you that it is steadily being looked into. And we want to get it resolved just as much as you guys do, for sure.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Guy calls with a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Work me through the tech support, because essentially you're head of tech support. So kind of work me through.
What's the problem?
Hi, my name is Fernando, and I have problems with my wife.
So you guys both solved that problem a long time ago. He didn't learn anything from it, but that's okay. All right, so give me your generic question, most popular. What do you guys spend most of the time answering?
We spend most of the time answering questions about our integrated radios.
All right, let's talk about integrated radios for a minute. So we're talking high 10, Horizon 10, 12.
Yeah, like the Jeep integrated kit. So people will call in and be like, my gauges aren't working, the off-road gauges.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, did you connect the star connector behind the glove box? And they're usually like, oh no, what's that? Or we hooked it up there but didn't plug it in behind the radio. Or, there's several modules that work together in one of those. So there's the CH4A radio placement module, there's a PL1 module, and then there's an RPA HD1. And it all has to be hooked up in a certain order.
Yes, you have to follow the pictures.
Right, and if you hook the HD1 module directly to the CH4A module and omit the PL1, none of your gauges are going to work, because that's what tells the radio, what's going on.
We have gauges.
Yeah, that and steering wheel controls is another one. Steering wheel controls is a big one.
So you know what I found recently with steering wheel controls? Like, we had to do a couple standalone steering wheel controls on older cars recently. Mm-hmm. And what we've surmised is that clock springs are not standing the test of time.
They sure aren't. Honda's the worst.
Yeah. So Hondas and Fords.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see that most of our steering wheel control problems are that the clocks, the buttons, just like, if there's no decal on that button, chances are good it's not going to program.
Yep.
If the function has been worn off, you can.
Yeah, if you can get some kind of discernible reading on it, you can put our modules into manual mode. When I say modules, like a CP2 or an RC1, you can put it in a manual mode and program it. But if it's if its tolerance is too close to another button, then it
well, that's usually what happens. If we can get it to program, it's usually like volume and track up are now the same thing.
Yeah,
it's like track up, oh, come on.
Exactly.
You know,
something else too, since we're talking about amp pros.
Yes.
Another call we get is people install these amp pros into these newer vehicles that have aluminum bodies.
Oh, like a Ford?
Yes,
F-150
or a Chrysler 200, or some of those. And so what happens is they hook these up and they ground the amp to the aluminum body and not to the battery, and they end up blowing the little ground ferrite bead in here because the amp is now trying to source a better ground from somewhere else that isn't the aluminum ground in the car, and so it tries to pull it through these RCA connectors here because this is all single-ended output.
Right.
So what would that be? There's another unbalanced.
Yes.
So these are all unbalanced outputs, right? And so all these share a ground plane. So when the amp has a terrible ground, it tries to source it through the amp pro and pops a little ferrite bead. So people are like, yeah, I hooked it up. It played for about 5 minutes and then it quit working. Okay, send me a picture of the board. Yep, you smoked the amp pro. Fix your ground.
So fair enough. So if you're doing an F-150 or Chrysler 200 or
any car with an aluminum body,
anything you can't put a magnet on.
Yes, you've got to run your amplifier ground to the battery.
Yeah, the same thing will happen to an aftermarket radio if you do that as well. It'll blow up your aftermarket radio. Because, I mean, we talk about it all the time because there was a competitor of yours that wouldn't warranty the product if you didn't run, and they're Ford. They literally said in the owner's manual, will void warranty if you didn't ground amplifiers at battery. And the first question they would ask when you call is, did you ground the amplifiers to the battery? And it was like almost a trick question because if you said no, they'd be like, well, you should have. Warranty's void. And you're like, what the hell just happened? So a lot of you ask, do I need to run to the battery? Yes, if you're going to use an amp pro or any form of these interface modules, it's highly recommended if you have an aluminum car, go to the battery because the amplifier is going to find a ground somewhere. And if they can't find it from the ground that you've provided, such as a seat bolt or some other crappy ground, it's going to try to pull it through the RCA section and blow things up. So that's bad. We'll just tick that one off as bad. Not good at all. Okay, so we've talked about Sub Pro, we talked about Amp Pro, we talked about why things have TOSLinks, why they don't have TOSLink, which was very intriguing. Why this negates the ANC, which is very important. Now, let's go back to like Chrysler Sub Pro for a minute because
so our Sub Pros come with an ANC bypass harness.
Yes.
So you just find the little plug at the amp and plug our, I think it's just a little connector, and it just omits the ANC wires. So you don't have to worry about any of that.
There you go. Pretty nice. And that's just for Chryslers though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that had problematic ANCs with that sort of thing. I mean, we make Sub Pro or AP Sub for Toyota and Chrysler and some older Fords that didn't have it. And I think that, the GM61 as well, but they weren't real hot on the ANC mics back then. Speaking of ANC mics, GM's getting tricky with those again.
Oh, yes.
So for this generation, GM81, all the ANC mics are not analog. They are A to B data as well.
Wow.
From the mic to the amplifier.
That would make sense because if you do the new base model GM 2025, there are no mic wires and it has ANC and there's no way to shut it off.
You have to have a GM dealer turn it off.
Which that doesn't exist.
I was going to say.
You might as just
finding one of those guys that can do that is, I don't know. They're out there. I know one at Dimmitt. He's cool, Mike at Dimmitt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's pretty swift with all that. He helps us with stuff sometimes, like reprogramming radio brains to trucks and making steering wheel controls work.
Oh, very nice. Do you know we'll work on the solution?
Yeah, so we get a lot of questions about this. All the new big rigs are all CAN.
Okay.
So JR, I would love to tell you that we are, and we wouldn't have a problem doing it. Our problem is access to the vehicles.
And that brings up another point, like you were saying. You guys validate all these things in cars, so someone would literally have to bring you a Peterbilt.
And let us sit in it for weeks.
Right.
And hope there's no other variations.
So we need one of each.
So if you know where there's a Peterbilt dealership in Tampa, Florida that'll let us get in their trucks, then I might can make that happen for you.
Totally make that happen for you. Well, I mean, it's like when you guys decided to make the Honda kit, the Accord kit. You just bought a Honda Accord.
Yes, we've got quite a few vehicles at the office that we ended up having to buy. So we bought that was the first one we actually bought. Then we had to remake the Cadillac interface like an OS2X CTS.
Yeah.
So we bought one of those, remade that, and then we bought. So then we ended up having to buy a Class 2 vehicle. So we got an 05 Yukon. And we also have a 2009 Escalade Platinum.
Whoa.
We still hang on to those because, you never know, man. Those are still our biggest selling Radio Pro modules. So we always keep those vehicles on hand just in case we need to change.
Who drives them?
Nobody. They sit in the parking lot and grow roots.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
We got to take them out about every 6 months and get the oil changed and make sure the tires don't have flat spots.
Oh, Jesus. but there you go. That's an important aspect of making sure that this stuff happens. Okay, so we're reaching the end of the show here. You guys, thank you for asking some good questions. Give me some words of wisdom. What should people look for when they're deciding? Because people always ask, is there an Amp Pro for this vehicle? What should be a dead giveaway? So, like on GM, RPO codes.
I mean, if it's one of the big three, Chrysler, Ford, or GM, and it's got a factory amplified system in it, then yeah, there's an Amp Pro for it. And as far as Chrysler goes, any vehicle 2014 to 2022, then it doesn't matter if it has a factory amp or not. It's just got to have a 7-inch or 8-inch radio.
Okay.
Because we can make the Amp Pro think, the Amp Pro can make the radio think there's a factory amp there. But if you're doing that, you got to amplify the whole system.
Correct. So Pro no longer works. Is the new Chrysler that way? Do we know yet? Going to be able to do that?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. They changed a lot of stuff in that. So
there you go.
The basic CAN commands are the same, but the relationship between the amp and the radio, and Chrysler did a lot of new stuff with chimes that we're still sorting through.
Oh, so really?
Hopefully they can get as crazy as GM. But my only words of wisdom.
Yes.
Read the instructions.
Yes.
Read the instructions.
Should they read the instructions?
Yes. They should not throw them away with the packaging. They should read them because there's a good 30 to 40% of the tech support calls we take all day, every day, that could have been completely avoided.
And you guys put like the most important stuff right there at the top. Like there's
big capital, right? Like letters and things like
huge.
That.
Yeah. Who writes the tech? Who writes these?
There's a variation of people. When it comes to standalone pack modules like this, it's usually my engineering tech, Justin. When it comes to integrated stuff, like that could be Robbie or what's that guy's name in California? Robert. Let me look. See,
what's
right
his
here.
name?
Right there. First section. Important notes.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
Read. If you read nothing, read all of that. And that's for any of the Amp Pro, Radio Pros.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in the end of the day, you have to read the whole thing.
You don't have to.
Stuff. Yeah.
This nice little section here describes how the Amp Pro PC app works. I'm getting kind of a glare there. But
and the bottom here talks about the frequencies and the adjustable Q and all that fun stuff.
And then on the very back here, we give you a troubleshooting page. Right here.
So you have to read
everything. That tells you what the LEDs mean. Because if you call about a problem with an Amp Pro, the first thing we're going to ask you is, what are the LEDs doing? Is it on red? All right, cool. Does it blink when you roll the volume knob? No. All right, you got a CAN problem. All right, is it flashing orange? Is it rotating flashing orange? Like it's all in here.
Come on, guys.
Read the damn manuals. What the heck is wrong with you people?
Yep, RTFM.
What about newer VWs? So we were doing a show the other day, and we had the Audi that I was telling you about.
Yes.
And a guy from Germany was on, and he goes, "You guys have great American cars. Why would anybody buy this piece of crap?" And I was like, "Damn."
All right, then.
I was like, "Okay."
Straight from the source.
Yeah, I was like,
exactly.
"All right, I see how you are." Well, hey guys, that's it. Now, though, okay, so if there is no Amp Pro and there is no solution, we have a solution. You have a solution. So you make all these LPH harnesses?
Yes. So for vehicles that aren't factory amplified, so LPH, so we have APH harnesses, which stands for Amp Pro harness, which is designed to be used at the factory amp when using an Amp Pro. We also have LPH harnesses, and we called them LPH harnesses when we were making the Lock Pro Advanced line.
Okay.
Before we bought audio control.
Yes.
And so an LPH harness stands for a Lock Pro harness.
Okay.
And it's a T harness that will go behind the factory radio.
Yeah.
And break out your front speakers and your rear speakers. We've even got a nice extension harness for it. It's the LPH EXT 17.
This is my favorite addition to it.
Yes, that's it right there.
This is the LPH EXT 17, which is just a...
And so on the LPH harnesses, we have these nice Molex connectors for the fronts and the rears. And so you can pick off which channels you want to use. And if you got like an audio control amp that takes high level in and you want to run it back to the back and back to the front, then what he just showed you plugs right into our LPH harnesses. We even give you power, ground, and where it's applicable accessory.
Yeah.
So you can fire up your LC2i or your, kicker key lock, whatever you're using, or anything like that. So
now hold on, let me see that for a second. So this is the bass knob. So these are the best bass knobs ever made, and the reason why I say that is because you could see the distance. Let me go up here where you can see the distance between the bass knob and the bass, and it's
very universal.
It's more than a half inch, like 5/8 of an inch.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And there is not nobody makes a bass knob that long.
You can understand, everybody that works at PAC is all former installers. And when we're making these things, we think about all the BS that we had to deal with installing bass knobs that were a pain in the ass and were different rounded shapes and squares and slid onto these little metal things that had like number 0 screws holding them in the dash and all that. And we're like, man, we need to just make this to where they can just pop this off, through a 1/4 inch hole in the dash, mount that sucker in there.
Yeah.
Right off you go. Got your bass knob.
So you just got your 3D printer, so now you can 3D print a bass knob to put on there.
Okay. All right.
Of course, I grabbed the one we didn't pull the crap out of.
I was going to say, how are you going to screw that in?
How do you put it on?
Yeah. There you go. So that one's better. That one actually has a hole. So yeah,
there you go.
Just pop that one on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dean, can you ask him if he has any idea where to get the audio control AC BT24 Bluetooth for the DMA10? Yeah, that's. I don't think we're gonna have any of those for a while. We're trying, but probably eBay.
All right, so probably this is gonna be the last question.
Saturday, you mentioned you can go beyond the 30 amp max in a Toyota hybrid. Can you install a Blackbird and a Nighthawk or a similar setup from Helix or Moscone? So Moscone would obviously be the Picos. It'd be the Pico line of amplifiers, not the ones and not the Pros, unless you're doing some form of extra battery or something like that, which would kind of defeat the purpose. Helix does also have low amperage amplifiers that you could put in there as well. Now, if you are worried about the 30 amp, which I don't know why you would, but Alpine also makes their hybrid amplifier for hybrid/EV vehicle amplifier. So that's the amplifier they put in the Tesla. That is also very low amperage and multi-channel. You just have to deal with their software. But yeah, go to town. But yeah, basically you want a modern amplifier that is capable of dealing with these low situations. LPH harnesses helped with adding DSPs and Volkswagens. Yeah, VW2, VW1. Those are fantastic.
So if you go to the website, for the people that don't know, go to packaudio.com, and you can type on the top in the search bar LPH, and they will pull out all the LPH harnesses that is available. And they're fantastic. So
Boom, there you go. Ernie, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Audience, thank you guys so much for coming, and hopefully you've learned something. I definitely have. I hope you guys have learned stuff as well. I hope you find this helpful. We like to have guests like this on to talk about cool stuff like this. Always give us, I know how bad you guys want Seth, so just slow it down. We'll get him on.
yeah.
That's it. We'd like to thank the sponsors of the show, Audio Control, Arc Audio, Moscone, Focal, and Gladen for sponsoring the show. We'd like to thank Ernie for coming out. We'd like to thank all of you for being here and sticking with us. We will be back Friday with the news. Saturday, we'll be doing this again at 5 o'clock. More Q&A to come. And, of course, you can always find us on Instagram and DNF Tool Drawers Place. You can find all the cool tools that we use in our installations, such as the IRTA2, and, pick up a cool keychain. Outside of that, anything you want to throw in there?
I'll say that IRTA is cool. I use that at all my Best Buy trainings.
Yeah.
Show people what base roll-off looks like. So
Yeah.
I second the IRTA.
Well, there we go. You guys have a wonderful night as always. We'll see you later next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.